guys! Okay, so I'm going to be doing my labour and delivery story with my first child, Harry. So I was 20 when I had him, so I was quite young, and I was engaged to my fiance, Matt, at the time. We are now married. So basically what happened was he was like a surprise. I'm not going to lie, he was a shock to us. We were only dating about a year, and then we bought a house and moved in together. So we got all the paperwork sorted, moved in, and we literally had about 4 months before he was due. So he was originally due on the 18th of May, and he arrived on the 28th of May. Now, they all say, like, oh, boys are going to be late, so I was kind of hoping that he wasn't going to be, but he ended up being 10 days late. So on the 27th of May 2011, I went for, no, sorry, the 26th, I went for a sweep because I was, I think, 8 days overdue. So she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a sweep. If you don't know what that is, they insert fingers and they sweep the top of your membranes and the baby's head, and apparently it like triggers some sort of hormonal thing, and it helps you sort of go into labour naturally. So I had that. It was really uncomfortable. I had to put my hands onto my bum and then kind of tilt my pelvis up so she could get. Oh, it was really uncomfortable. And then that made me bleed a bit, which I totally panicked about. So then after that, I went home and I was sat on the sofa with Matt, and I was like, I feel like I need to walk. Can we just like go for a walk? So we went round Portchester Castle, which is like near us. And we walked around there. Matt showed me some of the grounds and everything like that. So it was actually really nice. Prior to that sweep, I haven't like niggles. You know, if you've ever been in labour before, you'll know like the niggles. But other than that, like nothing really. Hadn't lost any plug, you know, stuff like that. So I had dinner and went to bed. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I really hoped I was going to go into labour, but I didn't. So that's when I was 8 days overdue. I woke up in the morning on the 9th day I was overdue, which was the 27th of May 2011. And about 6 o'clock in the morning, I remember it. I remember looking up at the clock, because we've got like a projection clock on our ceiling, and I had a pain every 15 minutes up until 7 o'clock. And it was like kind of like a pain where it was like really tight, quite medium pain. And then it would, I don't know, last for about a minute, and then it would relax. So I had that for a whole hour. I had 4 in 1 hour. And then I thought, oh, maybe this is it. And then nothing else happened. And I was like, oh my God, like, oh, I'm going to have to be literally induced at this rate. This is ridiculous. Because in England, they only let you go, I think, 14 days. And then the baby's out type thing. So after 2 weeks of being overdue, it's not sensible to be pregnant for any longer than that. So I just sort of like went round my day-to-day. I think Matt was off. I don't know, I think he must have taken holiday early or something, but anyway, he was off. We just potted around the house, you know, watched a couple of movies, whatever. And then my mother-in-law remembers this, but I don't remember this. Apparently, I went round to her house and I was saying about really wanting a bath, and I was getting these pains and they were coming quite frequently, but I was fobbing it off as not being in labour, because one of the classic things you do when you're a first-time mum is you're like, oh, I've got a tummy ache, or oh, I've got pains, but you don't put it down to labour at all, because I guess you don't know what it feels like, so you just fob it off, and you're like, oh no, you know what, I've been pregnant for so long now, why would it happen today, type thing. So this is exactly how I felt. So apparently my mother-in-law remembers this, but I really don't. And she was like, yeah, so you came round and you're having these pains, and I was saying to you, yeah, you're in labour, and I apparently fobbed it off, and I was like, no, I'm not. But anyway, so that was that. So I went home, and we ate. No, we didn't go home. Matt obviously knew I was in labour, and he was like, right, let's go to Asda. I need some things from Asda. So I was literally, I remember this bit, hanging off the trolley. I had my arms like this. I was literally like, ah. But it's kind of that grotty feeling you feel just before you come on a period. That's the only way I can describe it, really. you feel really crap, like you've had diarrhea. Well, I had loose bowel movements / diarrhea about a week leading up to it. But other than that, I mean, apparently it's like your body's way of clearing itself out, whatever. But again, I didn't, put anything down to it. So my nose is really itchy because I got a little bit of hay fever, I think. Can't take hay fever tablets though when you're pregnant. So I was hanging off this trolley and Matt was like, oh, what sauces should we get? And I was like, just pick a sauce. I don't care if it's mayonnaise, I don't care if it's got lemon bits in it, whatever, just pick a sauce. And he was obviously trying to keep my mind going, but I was literally having none of it. So anyway, we went round Asda all through the aisles. I remember going home, cooking pie and chips for tea. It was a Friday night, so there was Coronation Street, EastEnders, and then Coronation Street again. And the last curry finished at 9 o'clock. So I was getting a few little pains. I remember like messaging people and saying like, oh, I've got a few pains. They're lasting about, 45 seconds to a minute. And they're coming every 12 minutes. But the only way I can describe the pains was it was like, this is literally how it was. Oh, I've got pain. Oh, it's gone. Type thing. It wasn't like, pain, oh my God, what do I do with myself? That's how it kind of started. It was like, I'm aware of it. Oh, it's gone. That sort of pain. So I was kind of fobbing it off. I was on my bouncing ball anyway, my birthing ball. I was sat on that, and I thought to myself, I really want a bath because I've got a bit of backache and whatever. So I ran myself a bath. I was in there all of 5 minutes. I had my Prima Baby pregnancy book, magazine, and I was just reading that, and I was reading all about, something. Either that or I was reading about some sort of celebrities, I don't know, can't remember. And then all of a sudden, like bearing in mind I'd had like these little niggles all day, I literally had this pain and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh it hurts, oh it really hurts. And that literally lasted about a good minute. And it was intense, and it was like someone had punched me full blown in like the lower bit of my body, in my womb. I was literally like, like I had to stop what I was doing. I had to literally compose myself, breathe, and then it relaxed. And I was like, thank God for that. That was horrible. I don't want that to happen again. And then about 12 minutes later, it happened again. And I had Matt's iPhone app. And I'm going to get this, and I highly recommend it. Basically, on the iPhones, you can get like a contraction timer app, and it's really good. So you press it when you have your contraction, then you breathe through your contraction, whatever. Then you press it again when it is finished, and it times how long your contractions are, and it also tells you how long in between each one. Absolutely fantastic. I think you might have to pay for it. Can't remember, but it's worth the couple of quid that it costs. So I had my contraction, whatever, and I was like, whoa, flipping out, what the hell was that? Anyway, went back to reading my book, my magazine. 12 minutes later, it happened again. And I was like, shit, like, I think this is it. I was puffing away in the bath for ages. And I must have been in there because I got in at 9 and we got to the hospital at midnight. And I remember being in there for like a good hour. So I must have just like added hot water when I was getting cold. Bearing in mind this was like the end of May, so it was quite hot outside, so I had like the window open. Gosh, I'm just trying to think, because bear in mind this was like 4 years ago. So I think I'd called down to Matt and I said, Matt, I'm in pain. So he bought me like 2 paracetamol, which I was like, okay. So I took them. And then I had like my sips of water out of my bottle. And then I guess it just kind of got a bit more intense. And we didn't get intense, it stayed the same pain, but they got closer together. So it went from, say, 12 minutes to 10 minutes to 8 minutes. And then I remember having a couple of contractions when I was 8 minutes apart, because I remember forgetting to, when I was 4 minutes apart, because I forgot to press the contraction timer, and then I looked back on it after my contraction finished, and I was like, oh no, like, they've gone to 8 minutes apart. And Matt said, no, you've forgotten to do it in between the 2 4-minute contractions that you'd had in between. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So it got to about 11:30, and I remember going downstairs, and I was literally standing there like, shall I hang off the sofa? Shall I bounce on the ball? Shall I lay on the floor? Shall I stand up and hang off the door? Shall I hang off Matt? I literally did not know what to do with myself. They were now maybe about 3 minutes apart, and you know what, I think I even remember them being maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 to 3 minutes apart. And I got to the stage, they say, in England anyway, they say, get to the point where you can't physically stand it anymore, then ring the hospital. Don't ring when you've lost plug. Don't ring when you have your first contraction, because they don't care about that. Talking about plugs, so when I got out of the bath and I went for a wee, and it seemed to like trigger another contraction, and I was like, oh my god, this hurts so much. As I wiped, the most largest amount of plug. Now, I watch a lot of these birth stories, and I like to be quite in detail, like quite in depth with my when I'm trying to explain things, because I'm one of these people that really likes gory details, and I find it really helpful, especially if you've never had a baby before. And because no one had ever told me what the plug looks like, I didn't know what it looked like. Basically, it's like if you were to crack an egg open and you've got like that white, gooey, a little bit like cervical mucus when you're ovulating, but it's red and there's loads of it. So it's a little bit like jelly, but not as firm. It's quite difficult to explain, actually. Like, almost like custard, but more gooey. Oh, I don't know. I'm just I'm just explaining it totally wrong. So basically, as I was wiping, it was so stringy, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much of it. Oh my god. And to the point where I could probably fill like a small glass full of it. Like, that's the amount. And I thought, when people said like, oh, it's like a plug, I was expecting like a cork, literally a cork maybe that big, just to like come away, but it didn't. It's like jelly, and it's really gloopy like this, and as you're wiping, just more and more, just masses of it just comes away. That's what happened to me. You may not get that, so don't worry if you don't. So I had all this jelly, and I was saying to Matt, like, oh, my plug's coming away, and he was like, oh, okay, like, blokes don't really know what you're talking about, they can imagine it. So I literally showed him, and he was like, oh my god, that is a lot. And it was like bright red as well, so it wasn't blood, like, you know what blood looks like, it's watery, whatever. No, this was plug, but it was the same colour. So yeah, so what happened then? So I went for a wee. I remember getting in my pyjamas, and I remember Matt packing the car up. Now, I am very, very precise, I am very organised. I had everything, and I tell you, everything. I'd packed water, I'd packed Lipsil, I'd packed all the clothes, all of my clothes, down to moisturiser, whatever. I packed everything. Now, somehow, basically what happened, Matt got the car seat in the car, my bag, the baby's bag, turns on the car engine, put the air conditioning on because it was a hot night, turns on the radio, or like a R&B disc or whatever that I had, because I love R&B and hip hop, but that wasn't really helping, so I just turned that off straight away since I got in the back. And we forgot the pregnancy notes. Now, in England, and probably America as well, you get like a bounty pack, and it's literally got all your notes in it for all your midwife appointments up to 40 weeks, whatever's been going on during your pregnancy, and we flipping forgot them. So basically, I remember being in so much pain, and they were like I said, like 2 to 3 minutes apart. So I was literally there like, I was literally mooing like a cow, like this, like, ooh. And I remember ringing the midwife at midnight, and I got Matt to speak to her whilst I was having a contraction, and then it went. So I was on the phone, I was like, hello, and she was like, hi, so what's your name? And I went through my name and my date of birth, and is this your first baby? And I was like, yes it is, and I'm never doing this again. Yeah, that didn't last very long. So then, so she said, okay, you sound like you need to, because then I had a contraction whilst I was on the phone to her, And she was like, breathe, breathe. And I was like, whew, whew, okay, it's going, I can talk again. And she was like, okay, it sounds like you need to come in. I was like, okay then, thank you, bye. And she said, come to the NQA, I think it's like, is it the B ward or something? Anyway, you go up in an elevator. So I got in the car, I literally had a contraction during my run in my slippers and my pyjamas to the car. So I was like in the garden like, ooh, ooh, ow, like this. It was so funny. Got in the back of the car. Now it's really funny because when I've spoken to other people, I said like, oh, where were you in the car? Like, how much of pain were you in? And they said, oh yeah, I just sat at the front with my seatbelt on. I had no seatbelt on. I was in so much pain. I was at the back and I was hanging off like, some cars don't have it, but there was like a hook at the back of the car. I was literally like swaying like this, like, ow, ow, drive faster, don't go over any bumps at midnight. And we managed to get there like record time, like 60 miles an hour, along like the clear road, you know. And it was just so weird because I was in the zone. I hadn't lost my cool yet. I'll tell you about the losing of cool later because I did lose my cool. I literally did not lose my cool. I was composed. I was breathing. I had only had 2 paracetamol. And I started to flake a bit. I started to be like, you know what? I'm getting a bit sick of this. I'm in a lot of pain. I need to go to the hospital. So anyway, we drove there, pulled up in the car park, pressed the button, got a little like ticket thing, because it was like a multi-storey car park. Pulled in, didn't even wait for Matt to get out of the car with any of the bags. I literally just threw the door open, left the door open, walked in, well actually it was more like a run, in my slippers and my dressing gown and my pyjamas. I was literally like, ow, 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 ow. I was running across the road. There's like, at QA there's like 2 roads, one goes one way, one goes the other, and then there's like a zebra crossing. So I was literally like running across it, like not even caring if the car was coming, like, ow, 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 ow. I was running. And then I got to the front of the hospital. There was like a massive glass front with like a revolving door. And then there was like the lifts. So I was sort of like panting away. And then I think Matt had like quickly like grabbed all the stuff, chucked it over his shoulder, and he was running towards me. And he was like, well, hang on, wait a minute. And I was like, no, can't wait, gotta get there. So I was just like, I was in the zone to get there. So Matt had followed me, we'd got in the lift, I was like, I want to press the button, so I pressed the button. We went up to the maternity, pregnancy, labour ward, sort of ran along the corridor, pressed the buzzer to get buzzed in, because it's all security controlled, like you can't just walk in. Pressed the buzzer, there was a lady on the like desk, she buzzed me in, opened the door, and she said hi, and I said, hi, my name's Corinne, and I'm in a lot of pain. She was like, okay, love, just give me your pregnancy notes and I'll get you settled into a room. Oh no, I haven't got my pregnancy notes, oh my God. And she said to me, she said something like, that I misheard. I think she said something like, well, the baby's coming any minute, so don't leave her. But I don't think that's what she said. I think she said, well, we've got quite a while till the baby comes, so, but I don't want you to leave her. I think that's what she said. So I was like, no, don't leave me, for God's sake, don't leave me. He was like, no, I'm not going to leave you. I'll ring Mum. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So we went into a room and put my bags down. But I'm one of these people that, obviously I'd been in the bath and I hadn't applied my deodorant and I was really hot and sweaty. So I'll have to show you a picture. It's on my Rainbow Babies thing. There's a picture of me sat with my gas and air, and there's a camera case and a roll-on deodorant next to me because I just had to have deodorant on because I hate being sweaty under my arms. So she said, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get on the bed, take your bottom half down, put a sheet over you, I'm going to see how dilated you are. I said, yeah, that's fine. So I laid down, expecting to be like 2 centimetres and send me home. She was like, okay then, so you're 6 centimetres. I was like, oh my God, no way, like I managed to get to 6 centimetres by myself, that is like totally amazing. So I was so happy with myself. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So she said, right then, so would you like some gas and air? I said, yes please. So I was puffing away on that, but I heard lots of stories about it making you feel sick, so I was literally like, I haven't been sick, I think I'm okay. So I was puffing away on that was fine. And I said to Matt, tastes really weird. It tastes like there's a sprig of broccoli at the bottom of the canister. It sounds really weird, but that's what it tasted like anyway. It wasn't like fresh air. It doesn't taste like anything. It actually had a little bit of flavour to it, and it wasn't bitter, but it just tasted like there was a bit of broccoli at the bottom of the canister. That's how I described it. So then, what happened then? So she said, right then, so you can, this is your room, and you can settle down here, and just let me know if you need anything, and I'm going to be popping in and out to, like, check on you. I was like, we've booked our plan is a water birth. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine, we've got a pool available. And I was like, oh, that was lucky. So she, what happened? So she showed me to the room, but the pool was empty, because when I rung up, I should have said, by the way, I'm having a water birth, is there a pool free? But of course I didn't, because I was in so much pain, I totally forgot. We got to the hospital, and yeah, she was like, just stay in this room. So anyway, she showed me to this room, and it was a massive pool. I have to show you some pictures on my Rainbow Babies website, on my Facebook. I'll have to put the link down below. So there was just a massive pool, and it was so amazing. It was like big. It was like a bath, but it's circular, and it had taps sort of there, and then there was steps going up to it and then down into it. So they ran the taps, and I was literally like on the bed. The bed was lower than me, and I was literally like hands down on the bed, like, oh, had my gas in air. And then when I had to go to the pool, they had to move, because it's like on a hose. They had to detach the hose from the wall and then put it in the canister that's the manoeuvrable one that's by the pool. And she couldn't do it, and it was a student midwife, I think, trying to do it. And there's me like labouring away, and I'm trying to help her. I'm like, try and release the thing back and then push it in. It was a nightmare, honestly. And I was just breathing in fresh air, and I was like, I'm in so much pain. Anyway, so she checked me at midnight, and I was 6 centimetres. Now, the labour went on for, if I started at 9 and I finished at 4 o'clock, then, oh, you work it out, I can't be bothered to work it out. I think it's about 7 hours. So I had him at 3:54 in the morning, which is quite early. So I was labouring away. You know, the hours were just slowly ticking by. I remember there being a clock kind of on the wall there. And I was like, oh my God, why did they put a clock there? Because this is the most ridiculous thing. I'm literally staring at this clock the whole time, and I swear I've had 10 contractions in the past 5 minutes, and it is awful. So I would describe the contractions as like, they go up, and then you feel like they're coming, like a sneeze, and then you've got the pain. It doesn't get any worse, it just goes pain for about a minute and a half, and then it eases off. That's how I would describe the pain. So, excuse me. So I was labouring away. Then suddenly, at about 2:30 in the morning, I got a sudden pain right down low. Was it 2:30? Maybe it was about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. So I got really horrible pain right down low. She got me out of the bath, and she was like, she checked me, and she was like, right, you're nearly 10 centimetres, but there's a tiny little bit of cervix over the baby's head. Now, basically what happens is your cervix is like this, but sometimes it's not perfectly circular, so sometimes, you know, there's a little bit of a lip over the baby's head, whatever. It doesn't dilate perfectly. Excuse me. I really need to sort out how to edit my videos on the laptop. So she said there's a tiny little bit of baby's cervix over the baby's head. You need to get back in the pool, do what you're doing, and then you'll be able to push soon. I was like, right, okay. So I got back in the pool. Now, Matt was on a birthing ball. For some reason there wasn't a chair for him to sit on, I don't know why. So he had like a table on wheels, and it had my bottle of water with a straw in it, my lip balm, and he was holding on to my gas and air cylinder. So what would happen was, I was sat leaning like this on the edge of the bath, and I had my gas and air, and I was breathing it, and then as soon as my contractions like released and started going back down again, I'd give the gas and air back to Matt, and then I'd be like lip seal, and then I'd have a little bit of water, and then I'd be good to go for the next contraction. And and I wouldn't call them contractions, I'd call them pains. So I'd be like, I've got another pain, so he'd give me the gas and air, whatever. Now, just before I started pushing, it was really weird. I had 2 contractions back to back. So normally you'd get like a couple of minutes in between each one. I literally had 2 back to back. And it was so horrible because I had my gas and air, had my pain, whatever, gave the gas back. I was like, no, I've got another pain again. And I took it and I literally sat in the middle of the pool all by myself with my gas and air cylinder going and totally hyperventilating. So by the time I came round, I opened my eyes and you know when you get like a telly that hasn't got a very good signal and like the vision's going all up and down like this? That is exactly what it looked like. So I literally I was like, whoa, you guys are going up and down like this. I was so out of it. And my vision, I just couldn't even focus on anything. It was so weird. And apparently they were calling my name and saying, Corinne, get off the gas and air. You're fine. Get off the gas and air. But I didn't hear them. I literally went deaf all around me. It was so strange. I thought I was going to pass out. In fact, that's really dangerous because I was in the middle of like a big thing of water. Anyway, so I came round, stopped breathing the air, gas and air. Looking around, everyone was moving up and down, and I was like, "What the hell is this? This is so weird." And then what happened? Then I was like, "What the hell happened?" And then she was like, "Oh, you hyperventilated." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it happened. So I gave the gas and air back to Matt, and then suddenly I was like, "His head's coming down. His head's coming out. His head is coming down." So basically, what happened was my cervix was now 10 centimetres, don't know how big 10 centimetres is, maybe about that big. His head had gone through the hole and it was now in the birth canal like that. And I was literally, my legs were like as wide open as possible. I was like, his head's coming out right now. It felt so weird. It was literally like a watermelon coming out your bum. And literally, I was like, his head's come, I had to renounce it to the world, I had to. She was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, I forgot to mention that when I was on the bed, when she was checking me for my cervix, she also broke my waters, and literally, like, no water came out. It was really weird, because his head was, I guess, was, like, acting like a bung, and then, like, literally, there was no water that could come out, because he was really fully engaged. So, his head started to come down, and I was literally, without even realising it, I was going like this, and I was pushing. So I started pushing about 3:10 in the morning, and with every contraction his head would come down and then it'd go back up again, and then it'd go down and then it'd go back up again, and I was like, oh my god, this is not working, I can't do this, like it's just going back up again. And apparently you have to fight through your muscle because the muscle's holding the baby in and you have to push against your muscle. And I got told that, and that was the least helpful thing in the world, because the lady said, yeah, because it's your first baby, your muscles are really good, and you need to push through the muscle, and it's going to be a bit tricky first time round. Yeah, I didn't need to hear that. I really didn't need to hear that. So anyway, his head was going down, and then up, and then down, and then up, and then down, and then up. And then all of a sudden, his head started to come out. I was literally, in my loudest voice ever, I was like, my vagina is burning, my vagina is burning. And she was like, okay then, that's fine, just breathe, whatever. I just literally did it all by myself. Like, she didn't really need to. I see a lot of videos of people laying on their backs, and literally the bloke is counting, or the doctor or nurse or midwife, whatever, is counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and breathe, and take another breath, and breathe. No, there was none of that. I literally did it all myself. I would literally, I remember saying, like, I need to push the pain away, and that's what it felt like. So I was pushing the pain away, and I found the actual contractions a lot worse. The actual pushing bit, I was actually doing something, so I was actually being productive. With the contractions, I couldn't feel like they were really doing anything, so that's the bit I struggled with the most. So I had my pushing pains, and the pain changed as well. That's another thing I forgot to mention. With my contractions, they were really tight, really intense, and then they relaxed. With the pushing pain, it's really difficult to explain, but basically, it was just a pushing, like the pain, you push and then the pain gets better, like it releases. So I was pushing and pushing, and then eventually, like I said, his head started to come out, and then I think I was in a squatting position like this, and then I kind of like laid down. I laid on my back against like the wall of the pool, and literally like his head, it was so burning. It was so hot and so burning, but because I was in the water, it wasn't, you know, as bad, whatever. So his head started to come out, and Matt went round to have a look with the torch with the midwife, and he said he could literally see like that portion, and then like that bit, and then like that bit, and then that bit. It was so weird to him. So then I'm glad I didn't sit there because it's a bit weird. So anyway, I was laid on my back like this, and then his head come out, but there was something like tickling like the back of like the side of my leg, and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, has some cord come out as well? Like, what the hell is that? I found out later, and I'll tell you later. So anyway, his head comes out, and I'm literally like looking down in between my legs, like, oh my god, like I'm looking up because bear in mind, like I haven't slept, I'm delirious, I'm so tired. I'm like, I was looking at the midwife, I was looking at Matt, I was like, there's a head in between my legs, guys, there's a head in between my legs. And then I wanted to touch him, and they were like, no, don't touch him. Now, I've seen a lot of different things, like people touching their babies underwater. I wasn't allowed to touch mine because apparently they go into shock, take a massive gulp of water in. Don't really know how much that is true. I wanted to touch him, but I didn't get to touch him anyway. So then, with the last push, I literally pushed him out, picked him up, kind of put him there, and he didn't cry. So I was like rubbing his back, and then he just like started crying, and he had these little like scrunched up eyes. He was like, rah, rah, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell? Now it's really weird. It was really weird because I was imagining him to have really dark hair, but he didn't. He had really pale hair because obviously he's got red hair. So I was like, I don't recognise him. It's really strange to say, but I didn't recognise him. The next thing out of my mouth was, Matt, get the camera. So he ran over to my bed, got the camera, took a photo, and I've got that photo on Rainbow Babies of me literally holding him like not even knowing what to do with myself. But I might add that I had my eyelashes tinted, my eyebrows tinted, and I'm pretty sure I had some sort of filing done on my nails. So I think I was looking alright. So I was literally holding this baby like, what the hell just happened? Next thing I know, these massive pair of scissors are coming down like this, literally straight past my head with Matt attached to them, cuts the cord. No, they do a clamp there, then they cut it. Then they need to take blood because I'm ovaries negative, so they had to take blood from the cord, put a few in vials and took that way. And then I had to get out of the pool. But I still had like a massive pair of clamp scissors, and the cord still attached to me. So I was literally butt naked, holding on to this cord and the scissors, walking, stepping over the bath and then down the other side of the steps, totally graceful. Got on the bed, and she was about to inject my leg with that relaxant stuff that makes the placenta come away. And she said, actually, I think it might just come away by itself. So she said, give a few coughs. So I did, and it literally just came out, and it was literally like a floppy paper dinner plate, but made of warm jelly, like almost like a bit of steak. It literally went flop open. So weird. And I was like, oh my god, that's so weird. So then she like padded me up, and I got a pair of gloves on, and I was like touching the placenta, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then she held up the sack that Harry was in, and it was so weird. It was like a really thin, like skin coloured, but you could see through it, sack. And then she said, right, this bit of the placenta was attached to you. This bit was attached to the baby there's all the cord and everything. And I was like, that's so amazing. So I'm so glad I got to do that. Might add though that I did not eat it, and I did not put it into capsules. So yeah, that was really weird. So then the whole time, like Matt's holding him, and I'm just like there, like poking the placenta, like, oh yeah, I've had a baby, but I'm just like really intrigued of like what's just come out of me. So that was whisked away. Then they put him on I will have to put the video, and I'm going to put the video on. I might put it on now because otherwise you guys might get freaked out. I'm thinking, oh my god, she's had the baby already. I am only 18 weeks, but I will put the video up of Harry. It's literally a tiny little clip, about, 20 seconds long, of Harry on the weighing scales, and the midwife forgot to put her glasses on, so Matt read how heavy he was. And at the very beginning of the video, you hear Matt go, that's 7'7", and I was like, oh my god, £7.7, that's amazing. So he was on the weighing scales, and they turned him around, and I was like, hello, and he was crying his eyes out. It was so cold, and he was like, ugh, and his little chicken legs were coming up. It was so funny. I will put the video, not on this video, I don't know how to do that, but I will put it on a separate video and you'll be able to see that. So yeah, that was so amazing. But it was just so strange. And then she said like, oh, I'm going to give you, what did she say? She said, oh, you can go and have a shower now. Like, bear in mind, I hadn't had any really skin to skin apart from when I'd like picked him out of the water. She was like, oh, you can go and have a shower now. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had a shower. And I remember like backing into the water because my stomach was like jelly. I didn't want it to like fall, my skin to fall off. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was literally like backing into the shower like this, like, okay, I've had a shower, that's enough. Got some fresh knickers on and whatever, padded myself up. And yeah, I got back into bed. It was so weird. And then Matt was like, oh, should we get him changed? And I was like, yeah, okay. So we got him changed. Again, still no skin to skin. And she said, oh, I'm going to let you have an hour to yourself. So we tried to breastfeed, couldn't really do it. Thought, oh, we'll do it later. He's obviously not hungry. But yeah, it's really weird. So then, what else happens? And then we wheeled him in to the like the ward bit where you have a curtain separating you. And then I just had my recovery in there. Went to a different hospital because by about 5 o'clock, I still hadn't had like a good feed from him. So I went to a little hospital near where I live, and they're like midwife led, so they've got more time for you. There's not like doctors and everything like that floating around. So they were a lot more helpful. So yeah, that is literally my labour and delivery story. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe. I am currently 18 weeks pregnant, and I am hoping to have another birth like that one, but I want it slightly differently. I will speak about it in a different video. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention. So as his head was coming out, I felt like this kind of tickle on my leg. That was his hand. There's a word for it, I'd literally birthed his head and his hand, and I didn't have any stitches, but he'd grazed me as he came out, and that was so painful. She said to me, like, go for a wee in the shower, but I couldn't, like, I don't know, like, something was stopping me weeing for some reason. It was so strange. And so then I went for a wee when I went into the ward bit, and it was so painful. I literally stopped my wee mid-flow, pressed my buzzer, and the midwife was like, oh, can I help you? And I was like, right, I am burning down there when I wee, and it is excruciatingly painful. She was like, okay, I'll give you a jug so you can just pour cold water as you go. But it was still painful. And the best advice I would give anyone is a big pot of Vaseline and just apply it inside. Now, that was fine. I didn't have any Vaseline at the time, so I won't be packing Vaseline in my next hospital bag. But I was in a lot of pain, and it took a good 10 days to 2 weeks to heal. And then I got an infection just before it healed. About 3 days in, I got an infection and it was green and it was horrible, so that was really good. So we had to go down to, I think it was I had him on, I can't remember, but for some reason the doctors weren't open, so it must be quite late at night when I decided that I wasn't very well. So I had to go on antibiotics for that when he was like 3 days old, so that's not very good. But they said it was still fine to breastfeed, so I guess that was fine. So yeah, good labour. I didn't tear, I didn't have to have a cesarean. I had a natural labour. It took me 2 weeks to heal, and then we were able to like have sex again and whatever. But it was really weird. Like I will go into a separate video actually for that, with the whole like after sex thing. I'll make you wait for that, and I will do that in a separate video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I think we're nearly like 2,000 subscribers now, so it's like totally mad. So yeah, this is my labour and delivery story. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye ladies!